Let's give a very warm welcome to the President and Portfolio Manager of the Magnet Investment Group, Jordan Kimmel, who's speaking on how to capitalize on phase two.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. And let me just say that I think this is my 12th consecutive FSX meeting. I circle it on my calendar because every time I come, I either learn something new about an industry that interests me, I meet a professional with some expertise, and we've really built some great relationships. We've started to really work together. In fact, on the way here, I already heard something. This guy was talking that he had just visited his psychiatrist. He was very, very concerned with his relationship with his wife. She felt she was a chicken. So the psychiatrist said, after all these years, what made you finally come? He said, well, we really needed the eggs up until now. So there's all kinds of people out there, but reality is what I wanted to just do is spend a couple minutes introducing myself and what Magnet Investment Group is all about, spend just a couple of minutes on the market and the economy, and leave most of the time to talk about what I think is phase two right now, the bull market, and why I'm so sure we can make money in here and how to do it. So just a drop of background. I know we have a lot of experience in the room. I've been in the business since '86. In '97, I started writing this book called Magnet Investing. And I set up my own shop and I set up my own hedge fund. And now we have a couple of hedge funds. We have a mutual fund in registration right now. We're buying a family of funds. We should be closing fairly soon. It's been a great run. What we had done is we had said some very controversial things back in the middle '90s when I tried to introduce my process. What I basically said was that earnings are absolutely completely manipulated. And what I talked about was understanding the revenue coupled with margins is the only way to understand a company. It was pretty controversial at the time. I said it's very legal, you work it right through the balance sheets. I then went on and said, what you're seeing on research on Wall Street has very little to do with the companies or the prospects. It has everything to do with the investment banking, and that's how business is getting done. The smaller companies are being overlooked. It was so important to me because all these companies that were ranking at high for me had no research, no following, and it took a while for them to finally grow up and get discovered. It was very sensitive to me. All that led to maybe 300 television shows. I'm on virtually weekly. I'll be on ABC next week. It's been a very controversial theme that I've shared. One of the things I think is very topical, though, to the folks in this room is we look at the S&P 500, the benchmark. And one of the things that's most interesting is that of the 500 companies in the S&P 500, 280 of them weren't there a little over 20 years ago. All new companies, folks. And I think they're looking then for a similar kind of refreshing the list. Companies, what I believe is there's an S-curve. I believe companies come and go. I really challenge you to make a long list of multi-generational companies. There's not that many of them. They hit an S-curve, they die, but what America is all about, I think what this room is all about, is the entrepreneurism of new companies in new industries that become leaders. And even just quickly, a newsletter that I get, a gentleman who claims to be a tech specialist, and he's talking about why the world is coming to an end, and it's because Sun, Cisco, Intel aren't growing their revenue sharp enough. When he got the business in '85, these companies were actually brand new baby companies. No one had heard of them then. They've gone on to become billion-dollar companies. The principals have cashed out billions of dollars to charity, to whatnot. The economy is thriving, but usually, guys, it's the new name. When I first met the FSX group, it was a horrible bear market that was concluding, and people were so depressed that they really couldn't figure out where I was getting my enthusiasm. And the reality is that I touched on a theme back then I want to reinforce right now. It is still the #1 theme driving the markets, and it's what's going to drive phase two right now. In the effort to stave off deflation and keep the economies worldwide going, we took interest rates down to a level where money was free. Good for companies, good for speculators, but terrible for the 80% of the money in this country that's invested in the bond market for income. What happened was institutions, pension funds, corporations all had money in different boxes. They had bonds, real estate, large cap, small cap, mid cap. They had alternative investments. And what we saw happen was there was a meltdown and there was a tech wreck. And a lot of the individual investors in this country who sped up their investment process from 3 years to 3 days to 3 hours to day trade got very badly hurt. The institutions didn't get as badly hurt. But in the overreaction to curb the economy, to keep things going, to keep the world glued together, the income of the pension funds, of savers, got cut by over 85%. And what we saw was a dramatic new underfunded pension problem, underfunded governments, agencies, I mean, on and on and on and on. And what I had the pleasure of speaking at was a Blue Ridge and Hedge Fund conference in New York City, where there was part of the room set up for alternative investments, real estate, and hedge funds. Folks, you couldn't get into the place. They were pouring to get in there. The institutions simply needed to invest. What I thought was taking place, I shared for quarters at the FSX, is that the individual got stopped. The individual was talking about Martha Stewart and Enron, and didn't those creeps lie, and isn't everyone on Wall Street a bad guy? The first move of the bull market was nothing but the institutions rebalancing their portfolios, which created some indexes to start to move, which now generated some interest. And we ended the year, folks, in an unbelievable shape with the market. Because I want to get to phase two so quickly, I'll just touch real quick. In 1998, the year, remember the golden year, they said even a monkey could have made money in the market, and the NASDAQ was up 86%. Well, 40% of the stocks on NASDAQ that year closed down 40%. And if you weren't in a few names, you got trapped. What we see here taking place is the Wilshire 5000, unweighted, has been trading at new highs now solidly. It's the largest companies that hadn't participated. What I will share with you now, even things like GE, Microsoft have broken out of downtrends, and while that's still not where I'm putting my money, that's going to be part of the confidence for the second half of the bull market. What I want to talk about real quick is something, an acronym just popped up in the newspapers called the BRICS. Anyone, for a copy of the book, guys, can anyone tell me what the BRICS are? It's really, it just showed up. I'm not making it up, it's not a joke even. It's called Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And I was in China for the first time last month, and I grew up in New York City, and when I landed in Shanghai, folks, New York City looked maybe like Cleveland or Newark. It was breathtaking, the building that's going on there. Well, there's a lot of talk that China's slowdown from 9.9% to 9.4% is going to derail the markets. What they're not talking about is the fact that in Brazil, there's a tremendous amount of building that's going on. They're going to unlock the natural resources from South America, and that's probably one of the big themes of the next 20 years. And my friend from the show is Jimmy Rogers, who started the Soros Fund and is a brilliant guy. I'm putting some of my money in his commodity fund. He's talking about the natural resources coming from there. We know there's things going on in China. We know there's things going on in India. What we see here is not a global recovery. What we see is an outright economic expansion. And it's dramatic, folks. It will have its pockets. It will slow us down. But the media is about the negativity. The media is about the problems. And if you see the tremendous growth, I will tell you that nothing will stop it. I'm around the media enough to know that You will not see a lot of good news. It's just not the nature. What I keep saying to the program directors, I just keep giving them an idea. I said, if a guy goes in and blows himself up in a bus and you don't put it on the news, maybe they'll cut it out. That's not real news. What's real news is the tremendous infrastructure that's going on worldwide. And I think Templeton said when the Berlin Wall came down, it was one of the biggest events in our whole society, multi-generational. The spreading of the collapse of communism, the spread of capitalism. Folks, I think that the Middle East in 20 years is going to actually look like some new cities going to pop up. We're not going to see the dire newspaper reports. What I want to get into real quick, because I know we got some speakers coming after us, is really how to capitalize now in this phase two. What I've shared with you is that money is pouring out of the sidelines right now. Interestingly, and so important for this group, is that there is a distrust of the major corporations, the corporations where the insiders own less than 1% of stock, have multi-million dollar salaries, and really they're not your partners anymore. What the public does trust is the entrepreneur with his own skin in the game, the guy with a concept, the guy who's the largest shareholder. I think that's really what represents a lot of the sponsors, some of the small companies that I've met at FSX, the entrepreneur spirit. One of the things I'll share with you is I did spend, the name Norm and Warren Resources came up a couple times already. I met with Norm this week in the city, and he was gushing. He had just completed a 20 million share IPO that was oversubscribed to. But what he said to me is he owns a lot of his own personal success to FSX. He said he's hit 34 times in good times and bad, and there was times when there was bad news to report, and he showed up and reported it. And what I'm sharing with you is in our new society, we can go up to the hotel room on broadband and type in and Google everyone in here and find out who's who. And that's actually a good thing. It's transparent. And what I'm saying in this new second phase, I shared last night with Joe and with Bob, is that in this room is a tremendous sources, everyone with their own Rolodex, everyone with their own relationships that go back 20, 30 years. I'm buying a mutual fund family now with a partner that was introduced to me from someone who came to FSX, and they couldn't work with me, but they knew someone that I'd like to meet and that I should meet. And that's the spirit of FSX, how we can help each other, grow our businesses. But I want to say something and even make a challenge here. I made a challenge last night. Just like in the politics and in campus, my battle cry is 4 more years. 4 more years, but right now. Let's get together, do a couple things, let's sit down, see what we do, how we can help each other, and really what I think you're going to see Bob and Joe do in 4 years from now. They will, like Vern had done after a tremendous career and a tremendous growth of FSX and membership, they will be turning over the reins to the next group who wants to take it to the next level. But for the next 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, for those of us who are still standing and are at new highs personally, part of the destruction, the people who got left behind, maybe were the people who didn't have the game to begin with. Some of them got hurt, and it's unfortunate. But the people who saw through what just went on and are stronger, I think this is just a fantastic opportunity for us. So what I want to share with you, it's come very full circle for me. People I met 15 years ago in Las Vegas last week knew the people that I had my greatest success with when I got started. I know they've already called each other. That's the way it's all about right now, using our relationships. So what I don't want to do is give you the stock of the day. Although I will tell you, I love the market. This is my love. My model indexes everything and picks the cream of the crop. If you want to talk individual stocks, sectors, That's my love. That's what I spend my time on. If you want to get in on my email list, receive our top scores, get scored, whatever we could do, but I'm around all weekend to meet some new friends. I see some new faces. I'm not sure if we have time for questions, but folks, thanks for having me.